Hey guys, and welcome to part 35 of Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last part we came to Kanto and got our first gym badge already, because you didn't really have to do anything before to get to the gym badge. So yeah, actually one thing that's quite nice about this whole setup, or the whole Kanto region, is that because you have to do everything in a different order, and you can't do the gyms in the same order, you do get some guidance. So when we beat Surge, he actually said, hey, if you head north, you can go to Saffron City, so that's actually where we're going to head to, and that's where we're actually going to find our next gym battle. So one thing that's really interesting about Kanto as well, this version of it, is that those two Pokemon we just saw are third generation Pokemon, because, of course, this is one thing that's cool about Kanto, and why I love Kanto, is that there's a version of Kanto in the first generation, second generation, third generation, and fourth generation. Of course, the original games are Kanto, and then in the second gen with Pokemon Silver and Gold and Crystal, you go to Kanto as post-game stuff. And then in the third generation, they remade the originals, so there's the third generation of Kanto. And now in these remakes, because in the original Gold and Silver, you come here, you have to come here as well. So there's a version of Kanto, there's 4 different ones. So in this version of Kanto, before you arrive here, I kind of skipped over it, but Professor Oak upgrades your Pokedex to the National Pokedex, which means that it can register and you can have any sort of Pokemon be recorded in it. So this means that in this version they've added in 3rd generation Pokemon, which is actually something really cool. I think there's 4th generation Pokemon here as well. I don't want to confirm that because I haven't because I'll be honest here, this is the first time I've ever done this. When I had Heart Gold, I think I already mentioned this earlier, but I didn't beat the Elite Four. I chose some bad Pokemon, training was a big hassle, so I never beat it. So this is my first time playing through this part of the game, so it's all really interesting to me, and what they've done to it, and how they've added in different Pokemon. Because yeah, I think Bronzor is a 4th generation Pokemon, I want to say, or when I LP Pokemon Pearl, I definitely saw a lot of those pricks. God, I hate Bronzons. They're so annoying to fight, but so that's actually really interesting because it shows that really Pokemon are not generation. They're not where they are is not branded by their generation. And what I mean by that is that you can't in the games. Pokemon aren't defined by what generation they're in. They're just wherever they show up, and that in any region there are all different sorts of Pokemon from all different sorts of generations, and the only reasons why the generations exist is because that's the way the games are made. When they do a new generation of Pokemon, they have to introduce a load of new Pokemon, but then of course they can't time travel when they can't put bloody Flaffy in the first games because they can't time travel. So yeah, that's something I really like, that when they do go back, when they do recreate old areas, they do add in the original or the new Pokemon, because in the Electric Gym, one of the people had an Electrike, which is a Pokemon from the 3rd gen, and then we just fought a Bronzong there, so I think that's really cool. And it's cool that they did it in this game, because of course this is a remake of Silver, or Gold and Silver and Crystal, so in those games the same thing happened, where you would come to Kanto and you would encounter 2nd generation Pokemon. Although one thing that I want to say is that one thing I skipped over though is that when we were in Route 13, when we walked in the grass, we saw a level 13 Pidgey, because the routes in this game are pretty much the same as they were in the original, as in both the 1st gen and 2nd gen. So all the Pokemon are actually leveled to what you would have been if you were playing through this game originally in the right order, which is something I think is cool that they didn't touch that. What this means is that you can catch any of the Pokemon that you had in the original games that you liked in certain patches of grass, but of course you're going to have to spend a lot of time training them and getting them up to the decent level, which actually wouldn't take that long. I don't think getting a Pokemon from level 13 to level 40, say, I don't think it would take as long as I would imagine, really, but still, it's still a really nice feature. So yeah, so we're in the 2nd gym of Kanto, and it's actually the Psychic Gym, which I'm taking on all the trainers because after looking at a Surge and how high level his Pokemon were, I was like, right, well, if I encounter a gym where I don't have anything that's super effective against it, I'm going to be screwed because I can't take on the gym leaders by brute force because my Pokemon simply aren't high level enough. So I decided to take on every gym leader in this place just to give my Pokemon another boost, because as you could see, there's actually not much you can do in between gyms. There's no events, you don't have to go to, Lavender Town and go to the Ghost Tower, or you don't have to take on Team Rocket in between gyms, or in between these two gyms anyway. So there were actually 3 trainers in the route, Route 13, Route... I can't remember what it's called, but we were just there. But there were a few trainers in that route who had level 40 or so Pokemon, but I only took one of them on. Really, I probably should have taken them all on, but yeah, that's another thing that I was trying to get at as well, is that Pokemon aren't generation specific, but in Kanto, they didn't change what Pokemon were in each route. So that means that you don't really see that many different Pokemon in this region that are in the 3rd and 4th or 2nd gen, because Pokemon are still kind of region specific, like according to their generations. So, I mean, that's kind of an interesting idea that they don't change them, and that because all these trainers obviously are people who were from other regions, or they travelled to other regions to catch new sorts of Pokemon, or they traded with someone from a different region, because they obviously couldn't catch a Bronzong in this region, or in Kanto. But again, I don't want to say that you can't catch any new Pokemon or any Pokemon outside of the 1st generation in Kanto, because I simply don't know. I mean, I need to play the actual game a bit more and do a bit more research, because I actually did look into if it was true that the routes were pretty much the same. And the major difference with the routes is that you now have day and night, so I mean, you can catch different Pokemon at different times according to that, but apart from that, there's no real change in the routes from the 1st gen. So, a bit like in the Electric Gym, the puzzle is exactly the same, and I still don't know it. I mean, I should actually memorize how to get through this place, but every time I come here, when I get to the point where I'm like, God, this is annoying, I need to go actually look this up and memorize the solution, because I've done this puzzle so many times, I always end up just finding it anyway, so I never actually bother being like, oh, I have to actually go to that specific one. I just end up running around like an idiot, being like, oh, I'll find it eventually, it'll be fine. So, I didn't want to go back to the Pokemon Center because it's way too much of a hassle. So yeah, because it would have just taken too long. So, and anyway, the Pokemon I was going to use for this battle was Mr. Sublime, because it's a Psychic Gym, so obviously Ghost types is the way to go. Although you could use Bug types, and Bug types are probably a safer bet, but of course you have to have a really strong Bug Pokemon, or a really strong Pokemon with a Bug type move, and that's actually a lot easier with these later generations than it was in the 1st, because they introduced, slowly they introduced more and more decent Bug type moves, because in the original there wasn't really that many good Bug type moves, or there was no Bug equivalent of Flamethrower, say, or there was no Bug equivalent of Thunder, so it really was a lost cause trying to find a decent Bug move to fight against Psychic, so Ghost is the way to go. So using Mr. Sublime, her first Pokemon is Espeon, which is really cool because it's a 2nd generation Pokemon, and it also makes a lot of sense that she would be using this Pokemon. I mean, go on, Espeon's a Psychic type, and it's actually a pretty cool one. I do like Espeon, but I mean, like I already said before, it's a bit too much of a hassle. So using Mr. Sublime, which is a Psychic type, and using Ghost moves was pretty risky. Well, it wasn't as solid as a tactic as using E-Rock against Electric types was, because Mr. Sublime, yes, is specially defensive, it can take special hits very well, and also I found this out when I was doing the Elite Four video, or the video before where I showed all my Pokemon stats, that its move or its ability means that it doesn't take as much damage when a move is super effective. I didn't know that. I mean, I probably should have, checked that out before catching the thing, or before using it full time. But yeah, I didn't know that. But that's kind of useful here, because Espeon used Shadow Ball, or took my Shadow Ball and used it against me. And I was kind of worried about that, but of course, due to that ability, it didn't really do that much. And luckily for me, Energy Ball is a terrible attack and didn't do that much, so Alakazam, I think, is her strongest Pokemon. I mean, level 55, that sounds about right. So I was pretty worried about this thing because it used Energy Ball, but now I'm down to 6 health already. So, and my light screen just wore off, so I mean, I was kind of worried. I didn't want to let Mr. Sublime die because I didn't know if Alakazam was her strongest Pokemon, and if I did let one of my Pokemon die, or Mr. Sublime died, then I could have a massive trouble against this Alakazam, because Alakazams are just really good anyway, and just really tough. So, I mean, anything else up against a level 55 one, I mean, my highest level Pokemon are level 44, so I'm 11 levels below. So it used Psychic, which did more than I would have liked, but I needed to get that light screen up because I thought even if Mr. Sublime dies, it can at least use a light screen, so whatever Pokemon I send in next will be able to take the hits just fine. But Mr. Sublime, once again, very lucky that it didn't die. I really do attribute that to the fact that I used so many HPs ups on the thing, I brought a load of HP ups and used on Mr. Sublime before the Elite Four, and I used pretty much all of them on Mr. Sublime because he had the lowest health and I needed him to have a lot of health, so actually did really come in useful in these sort of situations where it's getting attacked by these really powerful psychic attacks, but can't usually would have died. But so it was kind of getting into this kind of pattern where Alakazam was using Psychic and then Energy Ball. So luckily I managed to heal myself and then use a Light Screen and then heal myself again. So Mr. Sublime now has decent health. Of course I would have liked Mr. Sublime to have much more health than this, but what are you going to do? So our final Pokemon is Mr. Mime. She actually only has 3 Pokemon, which is kind of nice. So I kind of thought I would just risk it and leave Mr. Sublime out there just to see how well he does. Because of course Mr. Mime is going to be faster and more powerful than it in pretty much every single way, but I wasn't too sure if it would actually know Shadow Ball, so I thought I would just leave Mr. Sublime out there, hit it with a couple of Shadow Balls and just see how it did. And of course I got semi-lucky in the beginning because it used Light Screen, and then I got semi-lucky again because it used Mimic, so now it does know Shadow Ball. But I thought at this point, because the light screen just wore off, I just thought screw it, I'll go for another Shadow Ball and hope for the best. And once again Mr. Sublime has 2 HP. I mean, Mr. Sublime just got wore down in this battle. And one thing that's kind of good about Shadow Ball is that sometimes it lowers the opponent's special defense as well as damaging it. So I was kind of going for that as well, because Mr. Mime has light screen. I thought I might as well try and lower its special defense. So I thought I would go for a Pokemon that is very specially defensive or has very decent special moves. I probably should have gone for something more physical, but if I went for Erock, say, that Psychic that it just hit York with would have absolutely killed it. So I knew that Erock wouldn't be able to take any hits of this thing, so I decided to go for York because I just thought, screw it, I like York, York's a cool guy. I was thinking about sending out the Fluff because I thought the Fluff could take an attack, because I know it's specially defensive and Discharge is a really good move, so I thought that would get the job done. So yeah, so that's the second gym badge already got. Really not too much trouble there. Once again, it's one of those things that once you do the Elite Four, you kind of have a squad of 6, so you should be prepared for most types. So that's why I pretty much haven't had that much trouble with this, because in the originals, of course, Sabrina is one of the worst ones to go against, because Psychics are both overpowered, and I mean, she's just really strong. Alakazam is a badass. I mean, what can I say? So with that done, next time in Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver, we're going to explore more of Kanto and probably get our 3rd gym badge. So I've been on Storm23. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next time.